I'll quickly call on the speaker to talk to us about accessibility and considerations in open source, right? It's going to be very brief, so don't worry about taking much of your time. Please, let's make welcome Precious Onyewuchi as she presents the last session for today's conference.
Hello. Okay. Hi. My name is Precious Onyewuchi. I am going to be talking on accessibility equals consideration. First of all, I want to give a huge shout out to the panel that happened here. It was very, very nice, and it touched on really cool points that we should generally give consideration to when we're talking about accessibility. So please, next slide. It's me that will press it. Okay. Sorry. See, this is not accessible because I don't know what. Okay. Hi, I already said my name. It's Precious Onyewuchi. I work as an open source manager, and then I also do open source contribution, and I'm an open source educator. I have a podcast, but I'll talk about it later. And I generally I like conversations because they lead to really important topics. I like traveling if I have money, and then I like I like learning. Nice. So this talk is as a result of a conversation from the Turing Way Accessibility Group. The Turing Way is an open science community. So during one of the meetings, Liz, I don't know if that's Harry or Hare, but she's the accessibility lead for the Turing Way community. And then during one of the conversations, she said, that's the thing about accessibility. It affects everything. It has stuck for a very long time. Yeah. So the origin of this conversation, like I've said, it's with my friend Zurum, who is also very passionate about how badly built societies, you can tell a society that doesn't really care about the older people or people who have disabilities by the infrastructure that they have, right? And then at the Turing Way Accessibility Workgroup meeting, key takeaways is what is accessibility? Why is accessibility important? And how can we practice accessibility? The short version of what accessibility is consideration, thinking about the other person. How would they use the design? How would they be able to cross this road? If you build a pedestrian bridge, if somebody who is using a wheelchair, can they use the steps that you've built? That sort of thing. And then the longer version, according to the Turing Way, is accessibility practices are a set of community-wide behavioral, social, and technical decisions. This is really long, so please bear with me. And technical decisions that can be taken to ensure that all are welcome and are able to enter and participate in research, data-driven processes, communities, and events, despite any barriers for access. So while accessibility is commonly understood with respect to disability, we, meaning the Turing Way community, define accessibility as giving access to everyone with specific attention given to ensuring proper access for groups of people that encounter different barriers for participation. So the slightly longer version is on the Turing Way book. You can read it. An example of accessibility would be descriptive alt text for images. How many of us follow Ezra Olubi on Twitter? If you click on his images, you can see very good descriptions of the image that he has posted, and that's a really good example. So it helps screen readers, and then it improves documentation, and it also benefits sighted users because, everybody uses and likes documentation. Keyboard accessible websites. It aids visually impaired users and also those with motor disabilities. For example, I think if you use keyboards a lot, some people start to develop like carpal tunnel syndrome, and it can be bad if you have like a really small screen, right? So using that, it's important to make sure that when you're building websites, people who use mostly keyboards can make use of them. Inclusive infrastructure, wheelchair-friendly pedestrian bridges, left-handed friendly book designs. I did not know how much of an issue it was for people who are left-handed to make use of certain tools that we don't really think about until I had a conversation with one of my friends because she was crashing out, right? So that's an important example. Subtitles for language accessibility and people in noisy areas, right? So like the policy definition was, it's not just related to just disabilities. Accessibilities is broad, and I think I don't remember her name, but the second speaker one of the speakers that was sitting here, Coco, Kemi, cool. And also for people like me that can sometimes be lazy, I find that these days most videos, I don't listen to the audio, especially like if I'm outside. I mostly just read what the captions are, right? Access. Tools like Zenodo, we have GitHub where you're looking for maybe an open source project, maybe you want to build something, and you don't want to build it from scratch. You can easily just find somebody else who has built something similar to what you're looking for and build a boilerplate from it. Zenodo allows you to have access to research materials, and then it also helps because if you publish your material on Zenodo, you get a DOI, which is I've forgotten what the D is, but the OI is object identifier. Basically, what it means is if you make changes to your tool, to your material in the future, the same link can still be used in the future. You know, like maybe when you check a website and you see a broken link, that happens probably because the website is no longer accessible, or it's been, I don't know, maybe the client did not pay the backend developer, so they removed it. But yeah, if you use a DOI, it's like a sort of like forever type of link that just exists for you. ARXIV, I don't know if it's active, but it's usually for researchers. And then you have solutions like everybody here is gathered for open source, right? So you have open data, open source, open science. These things give us the ability to have access to materials and just generally really cool communities that you know that you will not most likely have met all these people if you did not have a reason to. Oh, no, this is the main part. Why is accessibility important? Generally because it is, really. Like, that's all the thing you need. But then if you're looking for definitions, accessibility ensures equitable participation for everyone. I don't like equal because I don't think equal is generally fair, right? I don't know if we've seen this meme, whatever you pronounce it as, where, meme, let's do that, where people are trying to look over a fence, and they have the same, exactly, and then you have the same length of distance, but we're not all the same height. So equitable is reaching people where they are, right? So, and it also upholds human rights and fairness, which is a type of equitability. It benefits more than just people with disabilities. As for me, I don't have any disability that I know of, right? But subtitles work for me because, like I said, if I'm in a noisy area and you send me a video, I can just know what the content is without listening to it. It prepares for changing needs over a lifetime. From the panel, there was an example that was given where you may not always, you can have an accident. You can develop carpal tunnel syndrome. I used to wear glasses 3 years ago, and then now I wear glasses. And if I stay outside too long, where the light is, it's going to be bad. So yeah, it prefers for changing needs over a lifetime. It makes products and services easier for people to use. They say good design is the one that you don't even know that it's there. It helps organizations comply with legal requirements. This is for like a larger part because now when you have things like the WCA that enforces that people should make sure that their websites are accessible. If you start it from scratch, you will not have to. Again, that panel was very, very insightful because I can just easily link to it. But yeah, you will not have to now start worrying about making changes to the house. You built it from the beginning, so it's easy. And then it builds inclusive, sustainable communities. People like where they feel heard. People don't like to stay somewhere and they feel excluded. So if you're not being inclusive by design, you're being exclusive subconsciously. How can we practice accessibility? One, you design inclusively, right? I'm not like a designer by profession or anything like that, but design can take many forms. So you can, for infrastructure, we have ramps. I think this place probably has like a ramp. I don't remember anymore. But yeah, when you're probably planning events or you're doing anything that involves people coming into a building, it's important to factor places that can cater to people that that will not be able to use stairs, right? Create wider pathways, better layouts for maybe like websites, and then easier navigation, like this thing that I don't know what to use. Create accessible content, add alt text, captions, transcripts. Something I did not add here was making use of formats that are easy for people to access, like .md files. If you're probably working with documents, probably use like a Google Docs, because Google has really tried to make most of their materials good for low resource settings. So making use of things that people that don't have so much access to good internet can work with is a very important factor. Use clear communication. The older generation, they used to show you that they know book with huge languages. So if something can be simpler, make it simpler. There's really no point making it harder. So yeah, keep language simple. Use accessible formats for documents. Oh yeah, I wrote it here. For example, the MD files. Plan accessibility from the start. Build it into policies, processes, and designs. Like our star lady said, be proactive, not reactive. And then yes, be an ally. So you may not particularly have a known disability, right? But if you obviously know that people do, so speak up and advocate for accessibility. If you see somebody being mistreated, speak up. If you see somebody being excluded, speak up for them. Even if it's not like affects you directly. If maybe you see that they're planning an event and anyway, yes, speak up and advocate for accessibility. Thank you so much.